Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
Not only a new name, but a new number. Number 10 on our list is none other than the X Factor himself, Deebo Samuel, who now he's Deebo Sr., changed his number from 19 to 1. That was a very hefty penny, as you have to buy out all of the NFL surplus jerseys that they have for sale in the old number. But Deebo comes in number 10 on our list, and I think, one, it's credible to be to number 10 on our countdown. That means we've done 81 videos. But Deebo Samuel, while he's number 10 for the 49ers this year, he was number 30 on the NFL Top 100 for what he contributed in the 2023 season. I know that system's flawed and the players vote and whatever else, but it just goes to show you how stacked this team is, that the number 10 player on our list, and you could argue for sure that perhaps Deebo should be higher than number 10. I have no qualms with that whatsoever. This is a stacked roster, and as we go through these top 10, where he slides in for you, who knows? Now, if we look at just, back in 2022, our first year, Deebo was 4. Last year was 9. This year, 10. So he's kind of fallen off a little bit with the appearance of CMC, as CMC became the focal point of the offense. But if you watch top plays of the 49ers season, you watch top plays of the NFL, you just see Deebo Samuel peppered that list everywhere. He is just a playmaking machine. Tyshawn Raekwon Deebo Samuel Sr. That is a freaking awesome name. 6 foot, 215. He's 28 years old. Getting a little long in the tooth there a little bit, going into his 6th season. I still think he's got a couple more years of prime athleticism if he can stay healthy. Now, went to Chapman High School in Inman, South Carolina, was a retail management major. Fashion's a big deal to him. He loves that kind of stuff, and, he takes a lot of pride in not only what he wears to the game, what he wears in the post-game press conference, if he's on Kay Adams, wherever, it's a big deal to him. Now, he was drafted in the 2nd round, pick number 4 in the 2nd round in 2019, and it's kind of interesting because he wasn't the number 1 wide receiver on Kyle Shanahan's list, and Kyle Shanahan's been honest about that. N'Keal Harry was the number 1 guy, but he went a handful of picks before us to the Patriots. Thank you, Patriots. But that draft, and shout out to Josh, executive producer of today's show, man, by far one of the, it's got to go on like the Mount Rushmore of top 49ers drafts ever. You got Nick Bosa, you got Deebo Samuel, you got Dre Greenlaw, and if you want to throw in just a little extra gravy, Mitch Wisnowski, I probably wouldn't, but that's okay. He's had a really good career, but he's a punter. Incredible. Now, that entire draft for the entire NFL in 2019, only 6 players have had all-pro seasons out of that entire 260-person draft. 2 of them, Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, were drafted by the 49ers. So you got a third of the all-pro, everything in one draft. Incredible. And interesting, newest 49er, Brock Ya-Sin, went 2 picks before Deebo. He's on the team now. So just kind of to put context into what the Niners were able to achieve and where Deebo was drafted. A big family Deebo grew up in. 8 siblings. Whew. Impressive. Got the name Deebo. Obviously, his father said he was always taking things away from other people. Nicknamed him Deebo after the movie Friday, right? Hide your chains. Broke the high school record for touchdowns, had 53 touchdowns at his high school. Incredible. Now, first team all SEC whenever he went to South Carolina, played all over the place. Now, here's where he gets drafted by the Niners, makes an immediate impact in 2019. I mean, we made the Super Bowl that year. He showed up, him and Nick Bosa, him, Dre Greenlaw, obviously. They all just contributed so much. Now, he did have a drop problem, and this is one of the things that I credit Deebo. Like, he worked on this. He led the NFL in drops in 2021 with 12 drops. Had 10 his rookie year. Got injured in 2020. He was one of the many injured players. Had 3 drops then, but only 33 catches. But then you fast forward to last year, 2023, 3 drops on 60 receptions. Drop rate went from 9.6 to 2.2. That's awesome. So hopefully we can continue that. How much of that is Brock Purdy throwing, much more catchable ball, all those things. But you watch Deebo on tape, and you could tell some of the things that he worked on was his route running, coming back to the ball, and contested catches. And the film showed that. Now, you go back to his career year, 2021, contract year, shocker. NFL record for the most rushing touchdowns by a wide receiver ever. Had 8 rushing touchdowns in 1 year. Remember, that was the year he just took it over. And, we had all the running back injuries, and he was just like, I got it. Dallas playoff game, give me the damn ball, Kyle. Give him a ball, one play, touchdown run, put the Cowboys on ice like we always do. First team All-Pro in 2021, first team Pro Bowl 2021. Just all those things. Now, when we traded for CMC, that kind of took a little bit of the flavor off of the Deebo Samuel usage. Now, I think it's much more healthy the current way it is, but when Christian McCaffrey comes in and gets Offensive Player of the Year, all those touchdowns, all those yards, all that stuff, it kind of did move the priority of Deebo Samuel back. But you could counter what happened when Deebo got hurt against the Browns. Yeah, we lost a couple games. Now, you could also say, well, we also lost Trent Williams at that same time. But when Deebo plays bad, the 49ers are not who they are. Look at the Super Bowl. I would say probably the worst game of his entire career was the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Now, you have to give him credit. He played through an injury. He was injured early. Stayed out there, fought through it as best he could, but doesn't change the fact that was a terrible game. And, 1 or 2 of those catches change. He got completely locked down by not 1, but 2 corners. How do you, how do you weigh those 2 things? Now, one of my favorite things is how much he hates the Eagles. After that 2022 NFC Championship game, he was talking trash before. He was talking trash after, even though we lost that game. Then we finally get to play the Eagles and completely wreck their season. A lot of that had to do with Deebo. 114 receiving yards, 3 total touchdowns. He did it in the ground. He did it in the air. He did it on kickoff returns. He did it everywhere. Eagles absolutely imploded from that. And they still have not recovered. Still haven't recovered. Now, there's been a lot of trade rumors, right? And especially with this Ayuk contract, we'll see whenever that becomes resolved. Could be resolved by the time you listen to this, hopefully. But a lot of people keep saying, especially after they drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round, oh, they're going to trade Deebo. They're going to trade Ayuk. They're going to trade Deebo. They're going to trade Ayuk. I don't know why that comes. That's such a limited mindset, and I don't think that's really what the Niners want to do. Kyle Shanahan is like best friends with this dude. And I don't care how good Ricky Pearsall is. He's not going to be Deebo. He's not. He could be different and provide, a lot of extra in other places. But there's only one Deebo Samuel in the NFL. Now, if you do trade Deebo Samuel after this year, which I do not agree with, you save $6.9 million if you trade him before the draft. That's it. Off the cap. Like, people are acting like, oh, man, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you trade him after the draft, then you get $22 million cap relief. But what the hell good is that? That's right where we are with Brandon Ayuk. Super Bowl window's open. Get some resources. So if you are going to trade him before, you don't save any money. $6.9 million is not substantial. Trade him afterwards, no resources, no whatever. Yeah, you save $22 million. But he signed through 2025. I don't understand. Like, $22 million for a wide receiver, that's a bargain. That's... I don't understand why you would want to get rid of Deebo unless you were going to get a first plus back, which I don't know if you're going to do with he'd be 29 years old at that point. He'd have 1 year left on his deal. I don't know. We'll see what it looks like. Now, the negative, he has missed 20 plus games in his short career. A lot of injuries with the way he plays, a lot of hamstrings, a lot of whatever. That's just what it is. Can't change that. Now, you look at his PFF grades last year, 83 overall, 84.2 receiving, 69.5 rushing. I mean, he just does great things. Postseason last year, banged up, missed a lot of the game. Against the Packers, missed a lot of game in the Super Bowl. But he had 13 receptions on 22 targets, 146 yards, 6 attempts, 15 yards. Not great, but he was banged up the entire time. Now, I will say this, at training camp, I went to almost all the practices. He was the best offensive player. It wasn't even close. Juwan Jennings would have been number 2. Deebo Samuel was the best player offensively at training camp. It's just what it was. Now, let's look at just what his numbers were last year, right? 89 targets, 60 receptions, 892 yards receiving, average 14.9 yards per catch. That's great. 7 receiving touchdowns, 37 rush attempts, 225, 5 rushing touchdowns, 6 kick returns for 154 yards, had 114.5 rating when targeted, 17 broken tackles, was number 30 on, he had a damn good year. Really, really good year. You're talking about somebody that had 1,100 total yards. And shoot, what's that? I can do the math. 12 touchdowns. Very solid, especially for somebody that missed time. And he's your number 3 producer, right? Because you've got CMC, you've got Ayuk, then you've got Deebo, then you've got Kittle. I'm just saying, it's pretty impressive. It was a good year, not a great year. His great year was his contract year. Dude had 1,770 total yards as a wide receiver. Second best ever for a 49ers wide receiver ever. Jerry Rice only surpassed that once. Terrell Owens never did in his entire career with the 49ers. Actually, I don't think Terrell Owens did it ever at any point at any stage in his career. Can you get back to that? Probably not, because we were so dependent upon him in the run game and all those things. He had 365 rush yards and 8 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns alone. I mean, just bonkers year, bonkers. Now, going back to his contract, right? He signed a 3-year, $71.5 million extension. He's got 2 years left on that. Because that was added on to his last year. $42.6 million career earned. Love that. 58 career starts. Now, what's kind of the over-under for Deebo? I'd say, man, pretty close to what we saw last year, where it's, I want him to hit 1,000 receiving yards. I want him to hit 200 rush yards, and I want 7+ TDs. If you told me you're getting 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns from Deebo, would you take it? I would in a heartbeat. Yeah, sign me up right now. Now, could that dip a little bit? Sure. Last year he had 1,200 yards and, how many touchdowns did he have? I just said it a while ago. Sorry, I'm an idiot. 7 touchdowns. Yeah, that's exactly what he had last year. So close to that 1,200 total yards, 7 touchdowns. That's kind of where the over-under is. If he stays healthy, I far expect that to be way more. If he's still struggling with injuries, that could dip. But the thing with Deebo is, whenever he plays, he is the impact X factor. People don't know how to guard the way the 49ers play offense with all these playmakers. Deebo is that kind of litmus test for the explosive plays that Shanahan, Purdy, CMC, Kittle, Ayuk, all those guys. When Deebo's out, Ayuk shrinks. It just changes. So we'll see. Deebo, you are the man. I feel like top 10's a slight. I do. But this list is pretty damn good. And we'll see what happens. And I hope we get to do Deebo again next year. And I hope he's a Niner through the end of his contract before he gets paid again. Probably wouldn't get another deal with the Niners. But I want him to play out his contract. I really, really do. So, Deebo, we appreciate you. By far one of my favorite 49ers. And for us, we'll just keep counting them down.